Look at this. Blue bananas, growing in the middle of the desert. Not a greenhouse, not a lab, just open sand, scorching heat, and one dying old man's dream. His name was Hassan. He was 79 years old. The doctors told him he had 6 months to live. His family told him to rest. But Hassan had one last wish. He wanted to grow something impossible, something the world had never seen before. Blue bananas, in the Sahara desert. Everyone laughed at him. His neighbors said the sand would kill the plants in 3 days. Scientists said it could not be done. But Hassan did not listen. He picked up his shovel and he walked out into the desert alone. What happened next? Nobody expected. The images you're about to see are real. They were filmed over 7 months. And when the video reached the internet, the world stopped. This land has a name. The locals call it the Dead Floor. For 1,000 years, nothing has grown here. Not a single blade of grass, not one weed, not even a cactus. The soil here is not normal soil. It is sand mixed with salt and ancient rock dust. Scientists tested this land 30 years ago. Their report said 3 words. Nothing can grow. They packed their bags and left. But Hassan remembered that report. He had read it as a young man, and it made him angry. Not because the scientists were wrong, but because nobody ever tried. So, on the morning of day 1, Hassan walked out onto the dead floor alone. He knelt down slowly, his old knees pressed into the hard, cracked sand. He picked up a handful of the dead earth, and he let it fall through his fingers, dry, pale, lifeless. He closed his eyes for a moment, then he opened them, and he smiled. Because where others saw nothing, Hassan saw everything. He saw water beneath the ground. He saw minerals sleeping inside the rock dust. He saw a garden that was simply waiting for someone stubborn enough to wake it up. That someone was him. Hassan did not start planting, not yet. He knew something most farmers forget. The land must be prepared first. The soil must be awakened. So on day 2, Hassan arrived before sunrise. He brought 3 things with him: a worn metal shovel, 12 large black bags, and a secret. That secret was inside those bags. Hassan had spent 40 years studying desert soil. He had read every book he could find. He had spoken to scientists in 3 countries. And slowly, he had developed his own formula. A special black soil mixture, made from volcanic rock dust, composted camel manure, ancient dried seaweed from the Red Sea, and one more ingredient he refused to tell anyone. He called it simply the Awakener. Hassan dug the first trench by hand. Slowly, carefully, each strike of the shovel into the hard desert floor echoed across the empty land. The trench was 1 meter deep, 40 meters long. It took him 3 full days to dig alone. His hands bled on day 2. He wrapped them in old cloth and kept digging. Then came the black drip irrigation pipes, thin, precise, scientific, laid carefully along the bottom of each trench like veins of a living body, connected to a single small water tank buried in the sand. A tank that held exactly enough water, not too much, not too little, just enough to whisper to the sleeping desert, "Wake up. Something is coming." The trenches were ready. The black soil was waiting. Now came the most important moment, the planting. Hassan had ordered the saplings 6 months earlier from a small botanical research farm in Ecuador. They were not ordinary banana saplings. They were a rare genetic variant, a natural mutation found only once in the wild in a remote rainforest in the Philippines. Scientists called them Musa Azul, the blue banana. Their skin developed a natural blue pigment, not from chemicals, not from engineering, simply from nature doing something extraordinary. There were only 12 saplings in the entire box. Hassan had paid everything he had for them, every saved coin from 40 years of farming. He opened the box alone. His hands were shaking, not from weakness, from the weight of the moment. Each sapling was small, barely 30 centimeters tall, pale green leaves no bigger than a hand, thin, fragile stems. They looked almost too delicate to survive, too gentle for this brutal land. Hassan picked up the first sapling. He held it the way a father holds a newborn child, carefully, completely. He lowered it slowly into the dark black soil and pressed the earth gently around its tiny roots. Then the second, then the third, one by one, 12 times. Each planting felt like a prayer. When the last sapling was in the ground, Hassan sat back on his heels. He looked at the 12 tiny plants, standing in a straight line across the dead desert. Small, fragile, brave. He whispered something. Nobody heard what he said, but the desert did. Day 1 after planting, nothing. Just 12 tiny stems standing alone in the desert silence. Day 3, still nothing. Hassan checked the drip pipes every morning before sunrise. He checked the soil moisture with his bare fingers. He adjusted, he watched, he waited. Day 7, something changed. It was small, so small, most people would have missed it. But Hassan was not most people. The first sapling had pushed out a new leaf, barely the size of a thumb, pale green, almost transparent, trembling in the desert breeze. Hassan stared at it for a long time. Then he sat down in the sand beside it, and he talked to it. He talked to that tiny leaf every single morning. His neighbors thought he had lost his mind. Maybe he had. But the plant kept growing. Day 14, all 12 saplings had new leaves. Day 21, the stems had doubled in thickness. Day 30, something nobody expected happened. the leaves started changing color. At the very edges, a faint blue tint, like the sky just before dawn. Scientists who later reviewed the footage called it Extraordinary Day 45. The plants were now 1 meter tall, growing in the Sahara Desert, in sand that killed everything. Day 60. The first flower appeared. It hung from the tallest plant like a purple and blue torch. Heavy, waxy, impossibly beautiful. Hassan stood in front of that flower for 20 minutes. He did not move. He did not speak. He just looked at it because he knew what that flower meant. It meant the desert had finally said yes. Day 94. Hassan woke up before the sun. He had not slept well. Something felt different that night. He could not explain it. He just knew. He walked out into the desert in the dark. No torch, no lantern, just the stars above him and the sound of his own footsteps. When he reached the plants, he stopped, deeply, brilliantly, impossibly blue, like someone had painted them overnight. Hassan did not move for a long time. He stood in the dark desert silence and he cried, not from sadness, from something much bigger than sadness. He cried because he had been told his whole life that some things are impossible. And standing in that desert in the dark, surrounded by blue bananas that should not exist, he finally had his answer. Nothing is impossible. Nothing. When the sun rose that morning, Hassan's grandson filmed everything. The cutting of the first cluster, the weight of it in Hassan's aged hands, the knife going through the first blue banana, and what was inside stopped everyone who watched it. The flesh was not white like normal bananas. It was deep cream with a faint violet tint, and the smell, witnesses said it was like nothing on earth. Sweet, floral, like honey mixed with desert rain. Hassan's grandson uploaded the video that afternoon. By midnight, 5 million people had watched it. By the next morning, the whole world was watching. The video went up at 3 p.m. By 6 p.m., 1 million views by midnight, 5 million by the next morning. Nobody could count fast enough. The comments came in every language on earth. Arabic, English, Mandarin, Spanish, French, all saying the same thing. Is this real? Is this actually real? News channels picked it up first. A small regional Arabic station, then Al Jazeera, then BBC, then CNN. Within 48 hours, Hassan's desert farm was on every screen on Earth. 3 days after the video was posted, a white Land Cruiser appeared on the horizon. Then another, then 4 more. Scientists from 3 different universities. They had driven through the night to reach the farm. They came with equipment, soil testing kits, climate sensors, laboratory cases. They walked through Hassan's plants in silence, taking samples, taking measurements, taking photographs. One scientist, a botanist from Cairo University, stopped in the middle of the row of plants. She just stood there, staring at the blue banana clusters above her. Her colleague asked if she was all right. She said one sentence. In 30 years of research, I have never seen anything like this. Meanwhile, letters started arriving at Hassan's home, from farmers in Somalia, from agricultural engineers in Saudi Arabia, from a university in Japan, from a research team in Israel, all asking the same question. How did you do it? Hassan read every letter himself, slowly, carefully, and he answered every single one by hand. Because Hassan believed that if one dying old man in the desert could grow blue bananas from dead sand, then anyone, anywhere, could grow anything. That was his real message, not the bananas, the belief. 4 months after the harvest, Hassan passed away, quietly, in his small desert home. In the same bed he had slept in for 50 years. His grandson was beside him. His daughter held his hand. The doctors said his body had simply finished, but those who knew Hassan said something different. They said he finished. He had done what he came to do. In his final weeks, Hassan had not rested. He had worked harder than ever. He had called 12 young farmers from nearby villages, boys and girls between 16 and 25. He taught them everything. The black soil formula, the drip irrigation spacing, the exact depth of the trenches, the way to talk to the plants. He wrote it all down in a small brown notebook. Every detail, every measurement, every mistake he had made, and what he had learned from each one. He gave a copy of that notebook to each of the 12 young farmers. Then he gave them something else, seeds. Blue banana seeds from his own harvest, enough for 12 new farms. He looked at each young farmer one by one, and he said the same thing to each of them. The desert is not your enemy. It is just waiting for someone who believes in it. 3 weeks later, Hassan was gone. His funeral was held at sunrise, in the desert, beside his farm. 400 people came, from 7 countries, scientists, farmers, journalists, and 12 young people, each holding a small brown notebook and a packet of seeds today. Those 12 young farmers have started 12 new farms in Morocco, in Sudan, in Saudi Arabia, in Jordan, in Somalia, in Iran, and in the driest corner of the Sahara. Hassan's original farm still grows, tended now by his grandson. The blue bananas still hang heavy on the plants, still vivid, still impossible, still real. And somewhere in the desert wind, if you are quiet enough to listen, you can almost hear an old man, still talking to his plants.